back. So this video is specifically for veterans because this is a topic that we are familiar with, and unfortunately I think there's only a couple of people that fit into this category. Since I am a veteran, that is who I will be addressing first. But I think there are quite a few other categories that, quite a few other types of people that fit in this category as well. So if you are single and you are struggling and you are finding yourself out to be here, then by all means this video is for you. The thing is, the second wall, what I mean by that is very simple. So when you hit high school, those years, and you graduate, and you're trying to figure out what comes next, what to do, that is the first big wall, the first step out of your comfort zone into the world, so to speak. The second one is when you, for those in the military, the second one would be what happens when you try to leave and figure out what it is to be a civilian again. Hopefully, there's a lot more support there than there was when I was trying to get out. Now, I had support. I was able to figure out and how to do a resume and how to translate skills like the MOS and all that, the certificates, the MOS, anything job related into skills that could be relatable and understandable to employers in the civilian side. So there's a lot of parts that come down to what the second wall looks like, not just simply what it is, which is basically, hey, I'm here and I cannot see any further past this. Like, you can't see your future, you cannot see what comes next. You can understand bits and pieces here and there, and I want to say it's a process that starts from a very familiar place that most of us recognize right off the bat. And it's interesting to note that it's not necessarily bad being stuck. This is one of the few places where being stuck is actually okay, because you need to figure out what your footing is, where you're at, where you're going, if there is any part of that that can be figured out. The part of where do we go from here? And Gareth Emery is one of my favorite artists out there. He put out a song probably a year ago by now at this point called Where Do We Go From Here? And it's perfect there because it ends really well on a good note of just have fun, just chill and do whatever. And there's more to it than that, but basically let it be, figure out as you go, enjoy the time, that sort of thing. But for those in the military, it's a constant pain in our side just because we want to be able to plan, we want to be able to move forward, and there's always something there. From what I remember, from the very little I have talked to the females, the women in the military, things translate a little bit differently because they almost always were they almost were always married. I can't remember the last time I talked to a single female in the Army. I mean, the ones, my old battle buddies who were in the Army, excuse me. I think all of them are married now, and they have kids and a family and stuff like that. So honestly, they don't have to worry like everyone else does. There's only one person that I can think of who has been constantly single, now that I think about it. Mary. Her first name's Mary. I don't entirely remember all the parts there, but I don't think she wants to get remarried. Anyway, she's kind of in the same boat, but her life is constantly busy with her kids. So she's got a purpose, a direction, all of that. But generally for the rest of us, it's where do we go from here? And it is crippling in the sense that you're facing a precipice where there's a lot of darkness and you don't know what to do, or you're facing that wall that you don't know how to scale or get around. There's a couple different analogies that work really well. Either way, it's hard. It takes a while. In many cases, it's very natural. But the problem with that natural part is it's popping up more and more frequently. There should be a point in life that I am seeing or have heard. I'm trying to figure out how to word this correctly. There's a part in life that should be there that I'm hearing about, but I am not seeing for the most part. I think that is the right way to say it. And it's basically people find something that leads to, they find these steps that lead to where they believe they're supposed to be at, in a direction that they feel comfortable at, they feel very confident, and they just keep going and going and going. And they develop a pattern that allows them to keep going until they make something happen. I think it's hard getting stuff started. Sure, it always is. Sometimes it's hard to keep things going just because of the way the nature of jobs are. Routines can be very hard if you hate doing the same thing over and over and over again. Or conversely, maybe you need stability and you're tired of just doing all these random hours and stuff. So stability, structure, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone, but we need that to help us. We need that more. But the second wall is about the only thing that you have outside of whatever parents and friends that are left. Some didn't have anything except a buddy or two, which I've heard about, but I'm not going to say it's extremely sad. Yes, people pass away, but sometimes people would prefer to be alone, even in the military. Surprise, surprise. I ran into quite a few of those. Didn't have the longest conversations, of course, but I do remember some here and there. And the thing is, people can make something of themselves. It's just that some people like myself, we need a little bit more structure to kind of like build with. It's kind of like setting a kid down in front of Xbox, handing him a controller and be like, yo, go make something this, and the game happens to be Minecraft or whatever, where you just like, you watch someone go and they just build a whole new world or whatever. Sure, it could take a while, but they can actually get something down. But for others, it's like, where do we start? Building like that is not something that we have skills with, because we can build like houses or whatever, but we can't imagine, we can't visualize in that regards. Now, I've had fantastic dreams, and I've seen some very beautiful houses and stuff like that, and I could do something off of that. There's some crazy dreams too. I should probably just do like a whole video on dreams alone. Gorgeous ones. I actually had one not too long ago, but it was very unusual. I only remember bits and pieces of it, but essentially me and someone else who I didn't remember, we were trying to go through a field that had, not a field, sorry, like a woods type of area, like a forest almost, but without like super thick brush, and there was mud there. We were just trying to like crawl through from one end to the other without being spotted. Eventually he was spotted, but I wasn't, and I don't remember the ending. It was very slow, very long, no action or anything like that outside of him being spotted, me trying to avoid being spotted. Interesting. Yeah, that's probably the least impressive dream I've ever had. But then again, when you're actually hiding from someone, it doesn't exactly seem that way, because you don't want to get spotted. You're doing everything you can to try to avoid being spotted. Yeah, anyway, moving on. Fun side topic. The thing is, the second wall in our lives, I want to say some people who've never been in the military, for them it's going to be spiritual, or burnout. I'm feeling fatigued and burned out. I'm tired doing the same thing. I need a new change. So, that is going to be a little bit different for them. In some ways, sure. Lastly, I can offer a couple of thoughts on this because I'm going through it myself as far as the second wall thing. And I am seeing more light, more solutions, not necessarily answers, because this is not something that just has a one answer fits all type of thing. There's solutions that work. There's ways to make things work well enough until a pattern emerges. And it wasn't until I realized patterns can help overcome this massive obstacle that keeps us from enjoying our life and living it to the fullest, and all of that. When you see a blank slate in front of you, when you don't see anything in front of you, and you are struggling to figure out what to do, there's a couple things you can do. Bring reminders up from the past, memories, people that you knew. Figure out from that angle. That's common. Other people would put their faith first, and they would start there, because often there's a calling or a purpose that is tied to their beliefs and faith that is relevant. This is true for the most part because it is personal and it matters to them. The truth that they found. And the Christian in me wants to just simply point it all on Christ, but I do know a little bit better because, again, this is all personal. And even if it is the right path, the right choice, and the only faith, how exactly is that going to help others who don't believe in Christianity? How exactly is that going to come across? And in a sense, what that one exorcist said in that one video, it doesn't necessarily matter at this point in time because the video had a whole bunch of stuff in it, but an hour into it, he makes the one comment that I'll never forget, really. And that is, there's more that ties believers together than that which separates them. And you can take that a lot of different ways, especially if it's very simple and like Christ comes first in our life and that leads us to God. Anyway, I'm getting a little off track here. The last part that I'm trying to summarize, because there's a couple different points to that, it's basically solutions, answers, stuff that works, that is working for me. The thing is, I've been stuck on this last step for years now at this point because it's tied in with some personal things like refocusing from chasing after what my siblings have, which is a relationship and then a family, because I wanted that. That's obviously not possible right now. So I had to refocus and reshift, and that made things enormously easier for me. So shifting, refocusing, reprioritizing, having some multiple constants in my life as far as setting up patterns and all that. And it does help simulate quite a bit in your life, including structure and a schedule that you're used to. That's important because waking up, going to PT, back in the military, there was always a routine going on that you would have in place. Wake up, PT, shower, dress, eat, go do duties for the day, whatever they may be, eventually get off, and you rinse and repeat. This was a solid structure that you could go on. And you didn't have to worry about the future because everything was already down packed. You just had to worry about, are we going to get called up for deployment? So you've got that. What my gym trainer said rings true as well, as far as putting a little bit of pressure and stress in your life to help keep you more or less sharp, more or less on your toes, and if nothing else, back in the game and somewhat motivated. get yourself in an unfamiliar environment or out of your comfort zone. One of those two things. Pick whichever challenges you more, because in this sense you need to be challenged, but at the same time you still need to be having something in your life that you can recognize and just kind of go off of, build off of. Familiar ground, common ground, something where you could just keep going back to while you're slowly building up your life, building up to that wall in some way, shape, or form, so you can finally get around it, get over it, make it be a launch point in your life, so that way you can look back and see what you've overcame, most likely with help, because this stuff is probably impossible for us to scale on our own or overcome on our own. Having the proper tools really comes into play for a lot of these scenarios. And as a certain brother Jim Lowens said, he was tied to New Hope Academy, which is an entirely different story, but he said during one of my graduations, I don't really want to go into right now, but there was a graduation I was attending that he said two things that I will never forget. First one is, if you, just like fruit, the moment you stop ripening is the moment you start rotting. And the second one is, you're going through life, adding these experiences and tools, you're adding these tools to the toolbox in your life. So no matter where you go, and I hope this time that you spent here was well spent for you building up the tools in your toolbox. I'm paraphrasing, but that was mostly how it went. And that really struck a chord with me that I just been carrying around throughout. It's not my words, it's Brother Jim's words, more or less. But that is a very strong vision that really matters a lot, because guess what? I like building, I like creating. I need to show some more stuff too, because I did something really cool for my rabbit in my home. I basically turned I have like a 5-shelf or a 4-shelf thing, and I turned one of these into like a little a home for my rabbit, and I've just been having fun with it, just trying to figure things out. But it's been a blast. I like creating, and I just haven't been able to create much, sadly. And if I can get back to that, it'd be awesome. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else to cover as far as the solutions and answers to that second wall in our life. This topic more or less popped up, and I want to thank a friend of mine, because him and I, we had a conversation. I'm hoping we can have another conversation as well, and he's a great guy. In fact, he was in our same brigade, but I didn't know it at all up until a mutual friend of ours introduced us. And he's like, he found out what unit I was in. He was like, dude, I was in the same brigade, just in a different company. I was like, wow. Actually, I think it was the same battalion, not the same brigade. Yeah, same brigade, but I think it was the same battalion, just a different company. Very cool. So in a way, he did kind of inspire this video, because I am mostly there, but I'm not over it completely. There's still questions I have. I don't have a direction, but I have a lot that can make up for that lack of direction in my life. And this is incredibly important, because if you don't move your feet and you don't have a direction to go in, because it's a combination of both factors, you're going to stay stuck. Plain and simple. I mean, we need the challenges, we need the stress, we need things to keep us moving. We veterans need to keep moving. I'm not talking about hypervigilance or whatever you may have. I had hypervigilance, and I need to move. That has died down more and more every year. It's barely there at this point now, but there's still times where I feel it. I'm just like, I can't sit here. I got to do something. But veterans, we feel the need to be, if not active, be productive or be helpful in some way, shape, or form. Because it's like, dude, where's our purpose? We were out serving our country, going overseas and stuff, and now it's like we're back here trying to readjust to something in a ever increasingly hostile environment that does not give veterans the respect that we once did because of the work and sacrifices that we put into this. I mean, there is a lot to go on that topic alone, and I'm trying to avoid it because there's so many other people who do a better job than that than me. Yeah. I guess I'll end on this note too. Something I've been thinking about. My first deployment, we had Christmas, and this was, we had Christmas. It was in Kuwait, but I don't remember what part of Kuwait. There was a whole bunch of soldiers there. There was a lot of people who were helping out. I don't know if they were attached to MWR or whatever, but there was a massive Christmas tree at this one part, and people with some Santa's hats, they were handing out Christmas presents and stuff like that. And I remember overhearing this woman just saying how ungrateful we are, and I just basically stopped and told her, I was like, look, many of these soldiers or Marines, they're missing their families. This is like, it's hard to be happy when you are away from that what you love, or you've got something between that and you love. Probably both. Who knows what other personal issues and problems that they already have that they may be thinking about. A lot can happen before and during that point. It's usually only, I want to say 3 to 6 months into a deployment, things start settling down, depending upon what the issues are. That is if they ever do settle down. It is unfortunately one of the sad truths of those who are in the military is that a spouse who's deployed, it'll take you time to readjust and settle down. And that is if the spouse is decent. The ones who aren't decent, they're gone when you get back. Possibly with an empty bank account, empty home, stuff like that. That is not quite that second wall I'm talking about, but it very well could be that second wall. That didn't happen at my company, thankfully, but I heard that happen in my battalion. I know that happened in our brigade, but I'm not entirely sure about our battalion. It's a hard life. It really is. It doesn't have to be hard if you run into the right people and you got the friends, you got family, you got support networks, all of that stuff. Because then you can recognize the problems, everything else in between that, and then lastly the solutions or answers or something that works to help get you through to the next part of your life, so to speak. Whether that's standing on top of that second wall or just getting around it some way, shape, or form. And you know what? As hard as it is, often the answer lies with, with help from others, but not necessarily with others themselves. I'm saying that purely thinking about the fact that for years I wanted a wife, I wanted a decent woman in my life, and I kind of realized even if I did have it, that wouldn't necessarily actually help me out. That probably wouldn't even be an answer anyway. It's taken me years to just kind of let something go and just put it away temporarily, for health-related reasons. Because here's the thing, you can easily stress about this stuff more and more and more without even realizing it. And I would like to make things be as productive as possible so that when I can get a relationship, if that ever does happen, I can actually afford it. I can afford all the costs, and I can just be like, I have everything good to go on my end. Yeah. All right. Hopefully this was helpful to you and encouraging, because this is a very hard time, and Christmas is It's the 22nd and Christmas is 3 days away. Ooh. It's a Friday. Christmas is on a Monday. And I am supposed to see my parents. And I'm hoping things go well, but like, whenever I leave my parents, I'm always leaving more tired, more fatigued. Not burned out. I actually do feel rejuvenated, but it's like another workout session whenever I go home. Love my parents, but the pressure that they put on me is, I don't even know how to describe it. You got people who love you, who care about you, be like, yo, like, there's a lot of help that we all need, but like, whether I want it or not, this help is pressed upon me. And in a way, maybe I'm passing on what they've told me to pass on to others. After all, they have a community, and I would very much like to have a community of my own one day. Even if it's strictly online with just this channel. Now, that being said, there's multiple ways to help others. Safeguarding, protecting them, like with the military. That includes escorting in some other bases, some other things. Private security too, where you're just doing monitoring, patrolling, stuff like that. You could be helping directly with like the medical field, psychology as a counselor, getting people not just right physically but mentally as well. That's incredibly important, especially for those veterans. You could be helping up cleaning with like utilities. As awful as it is, we do need janitors. We need people to get their hands nasty, helping us with the daily trash. As from what I'm hearing, they do pay fairly well, just because it's important. Take out the trash in your life. And as I found out with the kitten that I adopted that unfortunately had to be put down, shit inside of you will literally kill you if it is not removed. And going through the process of like lubricating the stuff in his stomach, the poop, the shit, whatever you want to call it, in his stomach, lubricating it, and then just kind of like forcing it out carefully so it wouldn't kill him. And it's a picture on one of my videos. It's like an update or something like that. It was literally backed up into his stomach. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And this guy I miss him. He was facing so many challenges, and you don't know how much pain he'll be in, and I'd be keeping him alive for my sake, not his. Anyway, don't want to end on a negative note. Just remove the shit from your life. Oh man, what a way to end. Jeez. All right, until next time.